Hey, this is Sensibility Speaks. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
This channel discusses trending topics, celebrity news, and reality TV.
So today we are reviewing Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 3, Hasta Latisha, baby. Aren't they just creative with the titles, honey? So I did a video yesterday because Owen let out a little sneak peek, a little clip on Latisha and Kiki, and that's titled Tisha Kicks Kiki When She's Down, something like that. So if you actually heard that video already, you can actually skip to the 4-minute mark, give or take, on this video, but you can listen to that again because that's the actual opening of this particular scene. All right, let's get into it. So Owen put out a new clip of Kiki and Latisha Scott, and I really have mixed emotions about it. So for those of you who have watched my older videos, I've always thought that Tisha was a covert, and is a covert narcissist, allegedly, meaning she's extremely self-absorbed. It's all about her. She lacks empathy and compassion for others. I've said this numerous times, and this clip really shows it. And I hate that she is exploiting Kiki for a storyline, because Kiki needs to tell her own story, Tisha. But you guys listen to it, and I may give some commentary at the end, but I can only imagine what Kiki dealt with, having to deal with being addicted. And she self-admitted this, this is not alleged. But I can only imagine what she had to deal with the intricacies and the inner workings of that, right? And having to heal and dealing with someone like Tisha, judging the hell out of her. But let's take a listen, shall we?
You bailed at the time that I needed you the most. For a long time, I was so angry with you because I felt like, you took my best friend from me because
I took your best friend?
that's how I felt. Yeah.
Who best friend I took?
You were my best friend.
How did I take me? You have to take ownership of the place you was at then. You was not at a good place. I was trying to be there for you as much as I knew how. But then when it started mentally affecting me, I had to protect me.
I know that when you were pregnant, y'all told me about something.
We was in the front yard arguing when you was like, F you and that baby. You was like, you don't remember, but I remember it.
Yeah.
And that's why at that time I was like, she really needs some help.
Yeah.
And that's why I took you to rehab. And you were so violent and you were so unhappy. I had to get away from that. You wasn't you. And I was hurt too. Like, you was coming to my house every single day. Like, you're there and you want to see me and the baby, but you was like taking all of my papers. I had just had a C-section. I couldn't trust you.
Yeah.
We took a trip together because I was like, I wanted you to be better, but you wasn't getting better. So it was nothing more I felt like I could do. I was like, I don't want a relationship with that person.
So first and foremost, I'm so glad that apparently Kiki has gone through the necessary steps. I don't know, a 12-step program, some type of recovery program, in order to be in a better place and to no longer be addicted. And now let me be objective here. So on the one hand, I do get that Tisha didn't have the mental capability, or she just didn't have the bandwidth, obviously, to really cope with someone who's dealing with addiction, right? And I mean, I can only imagine, and seeing as though she is a covert narcissist, I feel like she probably did judge Kiki just by the harsh comments that she's making now. She lacks empathy because she keeps talking about, well, how do you think I felt? What about me? What about me? What was me? Not realizing that, this poor girl was addicted to damn painkillers, I guess, from a back surgery or whatever. And I get, Tisha, you just had a baby or whatever, and a C-section, and she was, I guess, allegedly, according to you, stealing your medicine, but she was operating from a place of being an addict at the time. But that being said, I don't like the fact that you're exploiting her, in my opinion, for a storyline. Let her tell her own story now that you have gone from trying to bash the hell out of Melody and worrying about that damn marriage of yours, which Melody could give a rat's ass about you or your damn marriage. So now you are trying to now pile all of this on Kiki, saying, I think low key that she's now trying to ruin your marriage. Well, ma'am, as I said in other videos, you prevented her from getting on the show the first time, in my opinion, because you and your damn husband laughed about it, telling the former hosts, the then former hosts, when they were doing the casting for the production or whatever like that, that she was addicted and you need to hide the pocketbook. I think it was Marceau allegedly that said it. But either way, you tried to put the nail in the coffin to ensure that she didn't get a spot on the show. So miss me with all the fake compassion, because I see right through your t-shirt. I think you're cutthroat. Everything is all about you. And now you're dealing with your husband trying to kick you out of the damn business, the day-to-day operations, hiring that new man. So you know what? Karma is a tizzy, Tisha. They said revenge is a dish best served cold, something like that. And now that I think about it, I wonder if Latisha and Marceau are going to talk about all of the legal trouble that they're in and all of those lawsuits that they have looming over their head. But yet she's focusing on Kiki's business. But anyway, you guys drop down in the commentary and you tell me what you think. And pardon me, I am nasally as hell. I caught a cold. All right, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is Sensibility Speaks. Bye-bye. So now the scene cuts back over to Kiki, and she says, I'm sorry that it was hurtful. It was a tough situation. And it's very disheartening to know that I made you feel a certain way when I was going through it at the time, right? But I wasn't myself. But those things are in the past. I can't change them, but we can move forward now. And prayerfully, nothing like this will ever happen again. And again, I want to move forward. Now, Tisha's like, but I don't know if I can let you back in. And then you turn around and hurt me again. It's going to take time. Girl, child, y'all know that Tisha can hold a damn grudge. Part of me thinks Tisha really doesn't want to move forward. Just like how she was stuck with Melody. Tisha's just a stuck person, right? Tisha has personal issues, and I don't want to say demons that she's fighting, but she's fighting esteem issues, and she's trying to find her voice, trying to find her place. And I think she takes it out on others, and she holds people to a higher standard than she even holds herself, because we all know she's unaccountable, right? But Kiki goes on to say, I'll be 100% mindful of the things that I say and do as it relates to your marriage. I apologize for violating you that way. And when I see you breaking down crying, it really hurts me. So I think they did a flashback to when they were all in Bessemer, when Tisha was upset. You trying to ruin my marriage, child. Anyway, Tisha's upset about the persona that she's tried to create for herself, right? Again, she's fighting esteem issues. She's trying to build her worth. And any crack in that armor for the world to see, it just makes her just break down completely. She just loses it because that whole marriage is her identity. So again, Kiki says, let's move forward. Let's forgive these things right here, right now. And we're going to make this truth that we're not going to bring this stuff up ever again. Tisha's like, okay. Child, y'all know that damn Tisha gonna keep bringing it up. Well, remember you did this 8 years ago? Here come that damn whining Tisha again. Well, Kiki and I have been going in circles for years, and I didn't come here expecting a lot of progress. However, this conversation has made me hopeful, and let's hug it out, okay? And so they hug it out. But Tisha, you have to be open-minded. If you want to move forward, then you're going to move forward. But if you're looking for a reason to stay stuck, trust me, honey, water seeks its own level, and it won't go beyond that, right? If you want to stay stuck, mentally, you'll be there in relationships with others and yourself. Catch. So Tisha says, I'm trying to have a fun girl get-together, and I'm okay with taking the first step, but really trying to see where it goes. And Kiki says, you know what, YOLO, you only live once, right? And then we cut over to the confessional, and Tisha's like, you know what, Kiki and I have been going through this for years. That's because you remain stuck mentally, Tisha, in relationship and also in relation to yourself, because again, you're dealing with esteem issues and you're dealing with grappling with your own demons, so to speak. And so water only seeks its own level. And you can't rise beyond the place of where you can't see yourself, right? So if you want to manifest better relationships, then you have to be a positive thinker and you have to want to move forward, Tisha. If not, you're going to continue to devolve and digress and go backwards, okay? Now the scene cuts over to Marceau and his father. I have been waiting to see this dynamic because I've often wondered, where does that misogyny come in, right? Where does the chauvinism come in? And so he says, "What's going on, man? How you doing?" So they exchange pleasantries, and Marceau gives him a tour around the bar. Marceau's funny. He said, "This is a bar. You may not be familiar with it. That's why the bar stools are up." And so the father jokes and says, "We had bar stools, okay, but maybe not a bar, Negro." So Marceau seems really happy to see his father. He says that his father hadn't been in Black since it's been open because his father lives back home in Michigan. And I think they're from Pontiac, Michigan, to be exact. And so he shows him the humidor and they sit down and they smoke cigars together. So he says that this is his dream, having a stick with his old man, a cedar stick, a cigar that is, right? They're chomping it up, they're smoking, yada, yada, yada. And the father says, "I'm proud of you, sir." And it seems like Marceau is really reveling in the fact that his father is proud. And I don't know if that's something that he heard a lot growing up, because I can tell that he has a certain reverence for his father, and he seems to really respect his father, right? And so again, he says, "Thank you, Dad." And it meant a lot to him. But his dad said, "But you're busy making a living, but I want you to make a life. Take the time to spend with your wife and kids and the family, your loved ones. You don't want to live to work. You want to work to live." I think I'm saying that right, because you have to have a work-life balance. Everything shouldn't be centered just around work. And his father says, "I never went on a cruise until I was 50 years old." Marceau, he's listening, is sinking in somewhat. He says, "Pops, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. In my mind, I keep thinking that the end is just around the corner." See, Marceau is chasing his tail. And I get it, because if you're really highly ambitious and you always have goals and you have your measuring stick and you have certain things you want to accomplish, it's almost like you have your tick mark, but it's almost like you can't really bask in a glow. You're always trying to look for that next best thing, right? And people who are he really needs to just sit back and smell the flowers, okay? And not take fake Africa trips with your girlfriend, child. See, I think Marceau does take trips, and I think he does do things to unwind and relax. It just ain't with Tisha and the family, okay? Catch. He says, "Once I build out this house," talking about Scott Manor, "he can relax." For those of you who watch the show, child, I know they broke ground, but they got those little mini caves and things like that. I don't know, why would you buy a piece of land like that? For the life of me, I don't understand why they would buy a piece of property that requires so much land excavation. They got to do all the drilling and going down, building power lines, because that particular piece of property is off the grid. And so they have to build roads to get there. I'm just like, everything for gas, electricity, brother. Anyway, I digress. So the father goes on to say, "Hey, I get it. I chased money for years." He said he worked every holiday while at General Motors because he got double time, right? And with that, he said he made many mistakes. And it sounds like he didn't spend a lot of quality time with the family and kids. And he maybe left the child rearing up to the mom, his wife. And I don't even know if they're married anymore. When I think about protector and provider, maybe his father was more of a provider. I don't know if he was a protector in that sense. But those guys got that damn chauvinistic attitude somewhere, and it could have been a thing. Look, I bring home the bacon and I put the meat on the table, and the mama did all the child rearing and had to do all the heavy lifting or whatever. I wonder if she put that man up on a pedestal or something like that, because goddamn, they treat their women like mammies and mews, talking about the Scott brothers 1.0 and 1.2. But on a positive note, I like the fact that the father now has introspection. And he was like, "Look, I'm older now, and you don't want to mess around and come home. Your wife's hair is getting grayer. She's getting older. The kids are grown and gone. And you don't let life pass you by working," in a nutshell. But of course, Marceau, he's hard-headed. Again, he seems to respect his father. He says that this is a path that I'm taking for our family so we can enjoy generational wealth. But you're creating this wealth, but if you're not spending that quality time, it's all for naught. The father said, heck, even God took a day to rest, okay? So, and maybe he's taking heed. And now that the spotlight are on he and Tisha's marriage, all eyes are on him, so he can't readily cheat and do the things that he could probably with a side piece or pieces, allegedly. But now he'll hopefully spend that time with the family and kids because he got the front for the grand. So now the scene cuts over to Tisha and Kimmy. I don't know where they were. Who were they in a restaurant? Wherever the hell they were. But they was like, ooh, it's so quiet in here. So they exchanged pleasantries. Oh, you look so pretty. You look so good. And I guess Tisha is working, and Kimmy tells her she looks professional. She says, well, I have some meetings today. I'm on the clock. And Kimmy says, well, how we doing all the way down in South Huntsville? And child Tisha goes on to say, honey, I got to find another place to work. And Kimmy's like, wait, what? She said, yeah, Marcel done hired him a business partner. He stole my place. He done took over my desk. And Kimmy's like, so there's literally no space for you to work? She said, no. She said, child, he done hung his degree up on the wall. And Kimmy said, I know you lying. I know you effing lying. She said, yeah, that Negro wouldn't even let me hang my degree up on the wall. T-shirt, why would you even need permission to do that? You want to hang up your goddamn degrees, just hang them up. You don't need his permission. So anyway, she's like, yeah, child. I went to the office. We were looking at the blueprint for Scott Manor. And he says, oh, by the way, Gino, he's working here for Scope now. And she's like, really? You didn't tell me that. And she says, I knew that they were going to partner on projects, but I didn't know that he would be coming as an employee of Scope, okay? And Kimmy's like, you mad? She said, yeah, I'm mad. So Kimmy said, well, you're going to have to rent an office in our building if you don't have no place to work. And Tisha says, well, he's renovating the end building for me. She said, well, what you going to do in the meantime? She said, well, I'm rotating different places to work. And Kimmy says, well, how long is it going to take for you to get in your office? She says, well, I'm putting fire under Marceau, so hopefully it'll be by the end of the month. And Kimmy says, honey, you know them Scott boys, they need more than fire, child. She said, girl, you ain't got to tell me. So Tisha goes on to say, girl, that's what I was telling Millie, talking about Maurice and Marceau's sister. She said, I've been married the longest, but Kimmy just came here and took care of things, meaning I guess she's able to make more ground and to have more of a voice, so to speak, with Maurice. And Kimmy said, well, it wasn't always like that. She said, we don't always agree on things, right? Goes on to say, look, it took me a while to get to this place with Maurice. By the time we finally come to an agreement and y'all see the agreement side, she said they had to go through a whole lot of probably battling of wills and opposing opinions. And she says it took a while to come to some middle ground. In other words, so they can agree to disagree and come together as a union to make decisions. See, that couldn't be me. And see, I've been married to my husband for just about as long as Tisha has been married to Marcel. Ain't no way in hell that I'm going to lose my voice to where I got to be begging and we can't have like mutually consented conversations to where both sides can be heard, but it depends on the man you marry. But so Kimmy goes on to tell her, look, and timing is everything. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And of course, when you're having a conversation with an adult, your partner, your husband, significant other, or even a friend for that matter, a colleague or whomever, you never come in an accusatory tone. Well, this is how I feel versus you shouldn't have done this or you did that. But anyway, she jokingly tells Tisha that, you know, with the timing of it, maybe you can ask before a session, meaning, you know, before they have sex or whatever like that. Child, if I got to do all that damn bartering, that's too much, Tisha. You never had a voice, and he don't want you to have no damn voice either. So Tisha cuts over to the confessional, and she says, I'm extremely happy that Kimmy and I have a good relationship. She knows what it's like being married to a Scott man, and her advice is really hitting the spot here. Timing and approach are everything when it comes to expressing your feelings to your spouse, and that's something that I'm working on currently now, she says. Girl, child, you got to do all that. No, ma'am. Okay, so now we're back over to Tisha and Kimmy, and Melody actually calls. And, ooh, Kimmy, you are sneaky, aren't you? Did you see her roll her eyes when she figured out it was Melody on the phone? Ooh, your slip is showing, girl. Kimmy says, hey, what's up, chick? She said, hey, what's up? How you feeling? You doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing okay. Okay. And Melody says, I know that you're going through your process right now, but are you able to get massages and things like that? She said, yeah, most of the time I can do that and we can catch up. She said, but at the moment I'm with Tisha right now, or T as she calls her. And Tisha says, can I speak to her for a moment? And she looked very pleasant and, didn't have any animosity. And Kimmy looked like her eyes about to buck out her head in shock and amazement. She was like, okay, yeah, yeah. So Kimmy says, Latisha, stop playing. I don't know what you about to do, but we can't have no argument pop off in this quiet coffee shop. Okay, that's where they at, a damn coffee shop, child. And quite frankly, we all know that Tisha really don't like Melody like that. And for Kimmy to look at her like that, you really want to talk to her because she knows deep down the truth. But anyway, so Kimmy proceeds to hand Tisha the phone. She says, we're having coffee. And I just wanted to know, are you available this week? I'm having a get together with all the ladies in our group, and I would love it if you can make it. So Melody goes on to say, yeah, okay, just send me the information. And Tisha says, okay, I'll do that. Okay, cool. And so we're back to Kimmy talking to Melody. She was like, okay, so you good with massages? Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so they end the conversation, Melody and Kimmy. And Tisha goes on to say, that's crazy how that happened. I guess that Melody called. She said, because this is one of the reasons why I brought you here. She said, I wanted to catch up with you, but also I've been talking to the other ladies. I met up with Kiki and I FaceTimed Stormy, and I just wanted to ensure that everyone was on board. So basically, Tisha says, as business women and wives, I want us to take the time, get together, enjoy life, and I want us to have a celebration. Now, didn't Melody just have a celebration for Kimmy, honey? Oh, she's such a copycat. You just could not let Melody one-up you, and not that it's a competition. That had nothing to do with you, Tisha. You just couldn't stand the fact that Melody actually planned something for Kimmy, to celebrate her being cancer-free. Kimmy says, well, I'm happy you got on the call. That was unexpected. They kind of kick in. And basically she's saying, Latisha and Melody having a cordial conversation. She said, I'll take it though. I'll take it. It seems like an alternate reality. But she says, but any peace that can come between these ladies, I'll take it. She said that was cool. And she was happy to see it. I don't know if you're really happy to see it because you just seem so shocked. I mean, even though you went with it, but I don't know if you're really happy with it, Kimmy. I don't know. The verdict's still out on that. So anyway, Kimmy goes on to tell Tisha she's definitely coming to the get-together. She was like, oh, I know you was going to come. You need to come out, get some fresh air, have some fun. And Kimmy says, y'all be doing stuff without me. I got to get caught up. But on a brighter note, she says that she's starting to feel better. And this is the first time in about 4 or 5 months, I guess, that she could really see some daylight just in terms of how she feels physically. So now the scene cuts over to Marceau and Tisha. They're having family time. And he says, thinking about the conversation that he had with his dad while he's actually enjoying a nice evening with the family, hanging out, playing chess with the kids, getting ready for some really good dinner. And he says he feels like a lucky guy. So Tisha says, it's nice to have a quiet night at home, not just so we can spend time with the family, but after talking to Kimmy, she's looking for the right time to actually speak to Marceau about getting kicked out the damn office. Ciao. So anyway, they talk about the chess game, who won, is to be continued. And Marceau, with his smart ass, so they all sitting at the dinner table, he says, well, do y'all miss mom cooking every day? Well, guys, she can't cook right now because she's working. She's doing something more important than cooking for. Ciao. And Tisha's like, are you serious right now? The shade, really. Yeah, that is shady as hell to do in front of the kids. He is such an asshole. Everything is so sarcastic with him. I don't like that manipulation tactic and that guilt trip because it's truth in every joke. He says she wants to work instead of cooking for you guys. And she's like, wow, Marceau. And I think it's so cute. The little girl says, well, what about you, Dad? And the baby girl says, the tables have turned. And I love it when MJ, the son, he said, I would never let my spouse talk to me like that, which tells me that when he grows up and maybe later gets married or what have you, that he'll have some respect. And he says, especially after 17 long years of marriage, right? And then Marceau, even though he's serious, but he says it in a joke, I can't believe you're taking her side. And she's just like, you talking about a boy and his mother, Marceau, and that's a strong bond, okay? So anyway, he continues being an asshole. He was like, it's a slippery slope. Next thing I'll be watching kids and stuff and cooking. And Tisha, rightfully so, she said, don't be trying to shame me in front of the kids. You know what I'm saying? Which I think that was really effed up. He was like, I'm just joking. Nah, bruh, you won't joking. It's truth in every joke. And she's like, look, I'm trying to find a balance. Honey, that girlfriend is 40 years old. Now, Tisha ain't always my favorite person, but I am pro-woman. So I do like the fact, being objective, that she's trying to find her voice and telling him, look, I'm working. This is what it is. And she's telling him when she's upset about something. I just feel like maybe earlier on in their marriage or whatever, he just ran Herdshire over her and just bulldozed her, basically. So finally, she's trying to speak up. Even though he tried to front, was it a season or two ago, like she's just this boss lady, but child, that was a front. So Tisha goes on to say, you don't understand the balance and the work that it takes being, I guess, a mother and having to be a working mother at that. And then he goes on, ping pong, right? Then he goes on to talk about the idea of protection and provision. It's on you, him being a man, and saying it's like gravity, you can't shake it. It just shapes your world. It never goes away. And then he goes on to tell her, I don't ever want you to think I don't understand what you have to do, because I think I got a pretty good grasp on it. Do you really have a good grasp on it? No, you don't. You just want her not necessarily barefoot and pregnant during this station of y'all's life, but you don't want her to be a part of the business. Now let's get to it. And then Tisha goes on to say, now, boom, here we go. I'm still trying to figure out what my role is with everything in the business. And further expounded, although we talked about your business partner, Gino, coming on, I didn't know ahead of time that you were going to pretty much hire him as an employee of Scope. In Tisha's mind, it was always a partnership, right? And then she goes on to say, even though I'm 85% owner of Scope, you're doing the day-to-day transactions, okay? And I want you to make sure that you run decisions by me before you just execute, right? See, if I said it once, me and probably 1,000 other bloggers, I've said it 1,000 times, you use this girl for her good credit. You allegedly got her, $9 million worth of debt, so the streets say, right? And we know about the lawsuits with the Zen Garden and this, and that, and the third. But again, I didn't realize she owned 85% of Scope. I thought she just had 51% or upward because, as I said before, her being a double minority, a woman and Black, you qualify for certain set-asides, right? And so you're using her from that aspect. You say she's the owner of the company, CEO, whatever, and you're the president. You're running the day-to-day operations. So she's just a figurehead, as I said before. You treat her like a glorified secretary, and you do, right? And so before you hired Gino, you probably had her doing all type of paperwork and things like that, or whatever. But when it comes out to really getting the business, drumming up business, she has no part of it. Now, Tisha, you say you got your broker's license. Baby, if I were you, I would just put all of my energy into that and do it separately from him. And I don't know if that's something that you guys are doing conjointly, because you want your cousin Courtney to come work for you, which I say, baby girl, don't do it. You run far, far away, girl. Don't do it, Courtney. But anyway, if you're successful in that, I think you should pursue that outside of Marceau. Let him handle the commercial side of things with Scope, and you make sure that you have a LLC now that you're a broker, separate and apart for him for the residential side, okay? Separate, have a line of demarcation. His name ain't on that, that's all you. That's my best suggestion to you. And if some type of way you can get your name off Scope, I know it's a limited liability corporation and you're too knee deep in it, child, wouldn't be me. Y'all know what Marceau reminds you of, and I don't know how old some of you are, but I'm thinking most of you are mature women, and some of you may be younger women as well. But I can just think back, way back in my 20s, I can remember girlfriends of mine dealing with like dudes or whatever, asking them to put cars and shit in their name. I wish the fuck I would back then. No one ever asked me anything like that because I was too sharp for that. No, you weren't going to get me with that. I ain't laying away nothing. I ain't putting my name on nothing. Don't ask me to do ish. Okay? Yeah, that's what he reminds me of, except this is on a larger scale. He's using her, again, for her good credit. Child, hell no. So anyway, Marceau still gaslighting the hell out of Tisha. He tells her potentially he's way more credentialed than Gino, but Gino has way more experience than he has, right? And he said it would be crazy for him to walk into the office telling him, oh no, don't do it like this, don't do it like that because I'm the boss. So basically, he's trying to draw an analogy just because Tisha's the owner. She has no right to tell him, Marceau, as the president of the business, not to do things a certain way. Tisha, girl, whew, you're not the brightest bulb, honey. Mm-mm. And then Tisha goes on to say, well, that's what I'm talking about is the communication, right? It's extremely important. Oh my God, child. And she was like, even with Gino moving into the office, you never communicated that with me. She said, you and I talked about Scott Realty, but we didn't talk about this. And Marcel's like, that's not how that happened. That's not how that happened. Child. And Tisha said, well, that's how I took it. He continues to gaslight the hell out of her. He says, well, we're communicating right now, and I'm trying to get my point across to you. And then he goes on to say, I want you to see things from my side in terms of the communication. He says, I have so much other stuff going on in the community, a lot on my plate right now. He says, we have an assisted living development that we're finalizing currently. We're looking to build a hotel, possibly a warehouse. We're finishing up a dermatology office. And he's like, and we're just doing all these different things. And I just wasn't thinking about that. In other words, he wasn't thinking about her feelings when he brought Gino on. It seems like to me, like you need a project manager. You need something. And maybe that's why he brought the guy on, because as your business expands, you do have to have the manpower to execute, right? Because that's a whole lot of balls juggling in the air. But anyway, Tisha said, no, you didn't think about it, but my feelings were hurt, okay? And she says, basically, I feel like you're trying to sabotage me. She says, basically, in order for a new business to grow, you have to invest time in that business. So I guess by him taking her office for her to be centrally located, I guess to do business with people, he gave it to the guy, and then he's going to tell her he's going to renovate another building for her. I don't know. I think he is trying to sabotage her. Oh, what a prick. What a prick. And Tisha went on to say, and rightfully so, she said, you stole my office. And he was like, what's up with the word stole? Jesus Christ. Yeah, you did. You stole her office. And she was like, look, I want you to understand my feelings, and I want you to acknowledge them, Negro, okay? And he was like, well, if I listen, here he go with the bullshit. Here he go with the gaslighting. Well, if I listen to logic, if you want to communicate with me effectively, then you want to sit down and prove your point. No, she ain't got to prove ish to you, because if she is 85% owner, since you used her to put all this shit in her name to get cheaper rates, cheaper prices and bids and things like that as a double minority, but then you don't want her to have say. Now she's trying to do Scott Realty, the residential side of things, and you don't want her to have an office for that. F you, child. Girl, you need to divorce him. She was like, now, what if I were to give someone your space, your chair? Child, next he's going to be replacing you, Tisha, with another woman. Child, he done used you up, girl. Child, he ain't shit. He's sat in, quite frankly, and ain't a whole lot of commerce going on from that desk right now. She said, honey, I get there, I see a computer up, a degree up. Girl, he don't want you to build your business. Don't you get it? All right, so now the scene cuts over to the spa venue. So Tisha meets up with the lady. They exchange pleasantries. Oh, it smells so pretty in here. So the lady has a beautiful charcuterie and some wine crackers. She was like, I want to spoil you guys rotten. And so anyway, Kimmy comes into the place, and basically Tisha wants to again celebrate Kimmy being cancer-free and just to spend some time with the ladies, even though you're mocking what Mel did with her pajama party, but that's okay, Tisha. But anyway, she feels like being at a spa venue, it'll be drama-free because it's relaxing and you're in your zen moment. Then they cut over to when the ladies were arguing and things like that. She's like, because every single time we get together, it's always something, some back and forth. So anyway, the ladies start entering the spa. And so we have Stormy and Tiffany coming in. Tisha gives them like a glass of champagne, and then they're asking, is it chocolate in a bottle? And then we cut over to the confessional, and Stormy's like, it's always a great time when the ladies get together. Although I do wonder if Mel is coming and will the energy between us be weird? Girl, you want the energy to be weird because you have weird energy toward her. Okay, stop projecting. So anyway, they go on hugging each other, exchanging pleasantries. You look good and all that. Tiffany with her little belly. She's in her third trimester. And so Tisha cuts over to the confessional. She says, now the one person I'm nervous about is Tiffany. Okay. She said, because I invited her. I later found out that she has an issue with Kiki, and she says she didn't know that. So basically, they do a flashback of Tiffany saying, if you can do stuff like that to your family and me just being a regular person, you'll do anything for me. Child, you just looking for a damn storyline. Y'all treating Kiki like she's the scapegoat this season and she is the whipping girl, okay? So anyway, Tisha's like, I hope she's on her best behavior, but again, she's in her third trimester and we never know how the hormones may react. So anyway, Tisha got the ladies some nice robes to wear. She got their names on them. And Kimmy's like, oh, you just could have did the initials. She got them footies and stuff. So they have to actually go into the dressing room to get undressed room by room because I guess they don't have a whole lot. And so Kimmy's just like, oh, it's nothing like getting a massage and a candle and some champagne just to relax you out. And I don't know if that's Stormy or one of them said, how do you know we're getting candles? She's like, girl, just go with it. I just guess. And so Tisha says the robe is sexy. And she came out. It was like, oh, you look good and everything. So now actually Kiki is just coming in. I thought she had came in before her. So I think she's just now entering now. Okay, so I thought Kiki had entered before. So now Kiki enters the building. So she's like, hey, how y'all doing? Everybody's like, pretty good. And she's like, oh, this is sexy. And it's like, yeah, I know. I like the sex appeal. And here go Tisha. I'm like, girl, why are you so passive aggressive? She was like, well, honey, your man ain't here. Girl, she was like, just keep it cool. Girl, anyway, that wasn't even necessary. So anyway, Stormy's just tripping. She was like, oh man, y'all really do look alike, right? And she was like, that's crazy. And Kiki said, well, that's a compliment for you. And here go old shady ass Tiffany. Oh, so it's a compliment that you get to look like her? Kiki said, absolutely, bitch. So anyway, Kiki's having fun with it. She's just like, well, shoot, who else would you rather look like? And don't fake it. She said, don't not say it. That's what she said. Don't not say it just because they're here, honey. So they're all laughing. She was like, well, is she older? And then Tisha said she acts like the older one. And that's why we used to fight all the time because she got a smart mouth. And Kiki said, well, I am smart. So anyway, Kimmy kind of cuts in. She was just like, oh, well, mine's is a perfect fit, talking about her robe. And then she asked Tisha, well, what size did you get me? Because you must think that you're smaller than me. Where'd that come from, Kimmy? Anyway, she was like, well, what size did you get you? Because you should have got me the same size that you got you. And she was like, well, what difference do it make? Yeah, you were doing a lot, Kimmy, with that. And then Kimmy's like, well, what I missed? And then Tisha's like, talking about Kiki because she got a smart ass mouth. Ooh, they just gonna be taking jabs at each other. I don't know if I could deal with Tisha. If y'all gonna have that much animus, just let it go. But anyway, here comes smart ass Tiffany. She's like, well, if I put this on my hand, is this considered a puppet? And Kimmy's like, you are tough as hell. And Tisha says, I'm gonna mail you a puppet. She was like, and Tiffany said, what, for the baby? She said, no, I'm gonna mail you one that looks just like you. And she was like, that's fine, that's for kids. And Tisha told her, you act like a kid, so you get puppets. She said, you keep it up, I'm gonna kick you out. Ooh. Bravo, Tisha. Yeah, because, Tiffany was doing too damn much. So anyway, Kimmy was right. She said Tiffany be on that bullish and does. Then she said she's always starting some with somebody. And today is Tisha's turn with the puppets, right? And she was like, really? And she said that she's glad that Mel wasn't there because seeing as though things went a little rough at the reunion, she probably wouldn't have laughed at that joke. I don't know if it's the baby making her act a fool or if production and Carlos put a battery in Tiffany's back, but she doing too much. So anyway, Melody comes in and Tisha greets her with some champagne. I think it's some chocolate in a bottle. And she's like, thank you. She's like, I don't know if you drink. She was like, I'm glad you came. She was like, me too, girl. So everybody, saying, hey, what's up and all that. And in a confession, Melody says that she's glad that Tisha invited her to spa day and she loves massages. Anyway, she says she's just getting over a cold and she lost her voice, but she's still excited to be there. She's funny. She's like, y'all all matchy. And Kimmy's like, you gonna be matching too, boo. So anyway, Jessica, the spa venue lady, she says that we're going to be splitting the groups up into two. So half of you will experience a sound bath and the other half will do chair massages. And so the ladies followed Jessica. And so I think Melody, Tiffany, and Stormy, they went into the room with the sound bath. And I think Kimmy, Kiki, and Tisha, I think they did the chair massages. The lady goes on explaining how to do things. Put your knees up, do this, sounds good. With the little chair, she does a demonstration or have them do it. So Tisha says, we're supposed to be relaxing, but I couldn't even relax because of Tiffany, because she was being really shady. And Kimmy laughs and says she probably was. She good at being shady. Y'all know that. So anyway, they cut over to the room with Melody, Stormy, and Tiffany. And speaking of Tiffany, and so Tiffany was like, well, I'm glad that you came, because I was like, well, is Mel coming? Because I see that Kiki was here and I never had an opportunity to really talk to her. And Melody's just like, mm-hmm. But I just knew that she was always your friend. And I know that you like being around good people. Melody's like, mm-hmm. And Tiffany was like, but I knew that she was always your friend. And I just like being around good people. And Melody's like, mm-hmm. She says she's not a bad person. And she was like, are you talking about from the Christmas party? Okay. And so they do a flashback to when they were all at Mel's pajama party. Hint, hint, pajama party, copycat Tisha. And so where Kiki was talking about that things have come to her, meaning Tisha, about their marriage, that she had to address it. But we all know that she was asked questions about that. She didn't just bring it up. And so now we're back to Tiffany. She was like, well, I don't like to surround myself with people like that, because if you do that to your family, then you probably will do that to me. And then she asked Melody, well, do you surround yourself with positive people? And so here comes Tiffany trying to set her up for the Okie Doke with these goddamn leading questions. Well, you do like to surround yourself with positive people, and you are saying that she's positive. And Melody's so cute. She was like, child, she's just a swirling and a dipping. She says, I'm saying to me, I'm enjoying the peace in this room. And the colors, I'm just taking it all in. We got that little thing over there. She was like, that's peaceful. And Tiffany's like, well, is that deflection? She's like, peace, peaceful. And Tiffany's like, deflection. And I noticed she looked over there at Stormy trying to get her to concur. And Stormy just had that little silly look on her face. And Tiffany's steadily pumping the gas. Well, I'm just worried that she may be disrespectful. And I'm just worried because if she can be disrespectful in any capacity to her family, like I saw Tisha cry real tears, and that's none of our business, and it shouldn't be her business. Well, their family, it shouldn't be your business to get in their business as to why she said what she said. What the hell you care for? If looking for a storyline was a person. So we cut over to the confessional, and Stormy's like, well, Tiffany is trying to have a conversation with Mel about Kiki, and Mel is not here for it. It's clear. It's obvious. Of course, because she is not going to be set up by the Okie Doke. And Stormy says, instead of just saying, girl, listen, girl, I don't want to talk about that. She said, Mel is like, well, it's really lovely in here. It's really peaceful. She was just like, girl, just say it. What you care for, Stormy, if she want to handle it like that? Because Tiffany is a smart girl. She can read between the lines. She won't gonna be set up by the Okie Doke by Tiffany. Child. And what you care for with your stank attitude. And so now we're back in the room with Kimmy, Kiki, and Tisha. I think Tisha's still in there. So Kimmy says, well, Tisha told me that you guys had a little meeting yesterday and you guys are trying to get back on track. And Kiki's like, yeah, we're trying to go in the right direction, and the meeting went well. And of course, we just want to see where it leads us, and hopefully in a good place. Now we're back to Kiki, and she says to Kimmy, even though our relationship is not to the magnitude of you and Tisha's, I felt like that we should have had a semblance of a relationship to where we could say we at least care for each other. And she goes on to draw back to Melody's party. She says, you went and took things back to Tisha, and there were some things that I was offended by. And I felt like you, instead of helping to patch things up, I felt like you instigated the problem, Kimmy, and did. And then Kimmy says, you don't feel like you instigated stuff by showing up at Mel's party? And so Tisha asked, well, why are you bringing this up again? And she said, I felt like we never had a conversation. And she relayed the message back to you like I was dogging you out. And here go Tisha. Well, I don't think she instigated it. Of course you're going to say that because at the time you were beefing heavily with Mel. Anything that would support your stance, you were going to go with it. So Kimmy was being very messy. That was during the time y'all were trying to isolate Melody off of her own show. If y'all don't get the hell out of here. She goes on to say that, she was surprised the way Kimmy brought it back to her because she was like, I don't know how you and Kiki's relationship is, but she had a whole bunch of stuff to say about you at the party. And Kimmy says that I ain't the only one that thinks that. And basically, in a nutshell, Kiki's like, look, that's rumor and innuendo, and disagree with that. Look, bottom line, I feel like y'all exaggerated the situation. And the only thing that I brought up is that me and Tisha weren't in a good place. And even though she was answering questions from Melody, she said, but it's mighty funny nobody said anything about the fact that Stormy is the one that brought it up. So they do a flashback of Stormy talking about some post. Do you think it was put up for deflection? Because people always talk about how Marceau cheats, but no one ever says anything about Maurice. So I can't remember exactly what that post was. But if Stormy is the one that brought it up, then, don't be nailing Kiki to the cross. And so Kimmy's smart ass is like, well, if everybody at the party feel like you was doing something wrong and had plenty to say about your cousin, everybody wrong? And Kiki's like, yeah. So Kimmy goes on to ask Tisha, well, when I was talking to you, did I tell you about anything that Stormy said? And Tisha says, honestly, I don't remember. Even if she did remember, she was more honed in on what Kiki had to say because they had bad blood at the time and still do. And then Kimmy tells Tisha, she said, well, back during that time, that was my first encounter with Stormy. And I did tell you about her as well because I was surprised that she had so much to say, I guess, about you and Marceau's situation, right? So apparently the ladies were talking loud enough for Melody, Stormy, and Tiffany to hear. So they was like, come on, let's go back over here. And so I guess they asked you good. So they came back in there. And then they flash over to Stormy in the confessional. She said, don't talk about me behind my back. And if you're going to talk about me behind my back, at least make sure I'm not so close that I can hear you. Bloop. So anyway, the ladies come back in the room. And I think Tisha or Kimmy, one of them asked, well, did y'all relax? And Stormy's like, no, cut to the chase with the bullshit. She was like, tell me more about Stormy since y'all got so much to say. And I think it was Kiki or Tisha, one of them said we were actually addressing the situation that happened at Melody's house. And it was Kiki. And she says, I'm happy that so many of the parties are here because we can clear this up. And I think one of them said, well, gosh, I wanted to relax tonight. They said, no, we still going to relax, but we're going to talk about this too. And Kiki said there were a few things that she understood that got back to Tisha that, in her opinion, were blown up in complete misconceptions. And she says, Tiffany, I heard that you insinuated that you didn't like the things that I had to say about Tisha. Tiffany says, well, I saw you guys having a real conversation at the event, and I saw Tisha cry real tears. And for all the times that you've claimed being Mel's friend, you should have always claimed being her cousin, period, and your family first. Shut up, Tiffany. And Kiki says, well, I don't think it's fair for you to make that statement because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so, of course, Tiffany smartass responded. She said, well, I always know what I'm talking about. And pretty much Kiki's like, first and foremost, you weren't even there. And she was like, I never portrayed like she wasn't my cousin. And how you gonna say something? She was like, and excuse me if I'm a bit irritated, but again, your ass weren't even there. So how is it that you got so much to say? And so Tiffany says, well, it just rubbed me in the wrong way that you would talk about her in any capacity and you just threw her under the bus like that because family comes before friendships. And is that what family does? Okay, so here's the thing. Tiffany is projecting because we all know that Tiffany is adopted. And she's like, I didn't grow up with a bunch of cousins. I didn't grow up with a big family, a bunch of siblings. So I guess in her mind, family is everything. If you come from a healthy family, some families can be toxic though. But anyway, and so Kiki tells her, well, that's the problem. You didn't grow up with one. So in other words, don't speak on what the F you don't know, chick. Anyway, that comes to the end of the scene. It will be continued next week. This is Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 3, Hasta Latisha, baby. All right, so this is Sensibility Speaks. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also hit that notification bell. I really appreciate it. And that way you can get my upcoming videos. And we are going to meet same bat time, same bat channel. Bye-bye.